Instagram. I think we are live on Facebook as well.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Chet Chats. While I figure out, yes, okay. Hello, welcome. So we're doing something new here on Chet Chats today where we are going live from two different platforms. So if you see me look up and or down, it's because I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to go about viewing our show and making sure everything works smoothly. But if you're new here, this is Chet Chats. This is a show, father-daughter show, where we talk about topics that are pertinent to everyday life and questions that I have questions that I need answers to because I have lots of thoughts and whatnot. So if you're new here for the first time, welcome to our pod. We're very excited to have you. If you are family and friends who have continued to join Chet Chats, we have taken a hiatus for a year. We are officially back and better than ever with brand new topics, brand new exciting things, and all the fun stuff. I will stop talking and tell you the announcements and exciting things we have. Did you want to do your part first?
Yeah, before we get started,
Okay,
we got to
ahead.
tell them our sponsorship. Our official sponsorship is Lyric Party Game. It's an app of music. And if you think you know music, you might not really know. It's a 99-cent app. Please support it. They are our official sponsor thus far this year. So thank you for the support. On you.
Thank the creator of Lyric Party Game is here this morning. So hello and welcome. We love you and we appreciate you always. So before we jump into my topic,
you got good eyes. I can't see nothing.
You got to multitask.
Yeah, I see. That's why you're here to the show. That's why you're here to the show.
Before we jump into the topic, great question about where shirts and whatnot are. Hefe Lifestyle, which is the overall branch that Chet Chats falls under. We do have new merchandise. We have hats. We have brand new shirts with different designs, different than the ones that we're wearing right now.
Right.
Exciting things happening. And we also do have masks. It comes in this great packaging. I'm going to just show you what it looks like really quickly. It is all black, so it matches with everything that you have in your wardrobe, so you don't have any fashion clashes. With that being said, so we do have new merchandise that is available for purchase. You can chat, DM, call, text, whatever to this man here. Part of the proceeds will be going to Lupus and the Lupus Foundation for continuing to find a cure and bettering people's lives. On one more note before we jump into that topic, I have just released pre-order sales for chapter 25. This is my 4th poetry collection that I have written. I'm super duper excited about it.
Show it up a little more so they can see it, babe.
A little bit over there. But it's available for pre-orders until June 19th. If you're interested in purchasing it or want more information about that one, please definitely reach out and let us know and I can get you all of that information. I think that's all that I have.
You did that very quickly too.
I really tried.
I'm glad you took over that because I would have stumbled through that.
I'm here for it.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, friends and family. Good morning.
Awesome. So today's topic, Dad, that I have chosen. Now, again, the thing about Chet Chats is we are only here for but a short amount of time, so we really only scratch the surface on a lot of these things.
Absolutely.
This is another topic that's probably going to happen.
Okay.
So
we need to probably
we might have a part 2.
Okay.
Or 3 or 4. Anyway,
okay.
So today's topic, Dad, is men and emotions.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
This topic was actually discussed briefly by some of our viewers on Chet Chat's last episode when we were discussing relationship standards in 2021.
Okay.
So it's stemming a little bit from that. So the overall thought is that there is this huge stigma that has been created probably for centuries, or that has existed for centuries, where it is not ideal for men to showcase their emotions the same way it is for women to showcase their emotions. So
I agree on that.
Okay, so that was actually my first question.
Oh, okay. See, look, my mind right there. My mind right
You're
there.
on top
Early.
of it today.
Yeah.
Look at that. Wow. So that was my first question, is that do you believe that this stigma does exist? And then the follow-up question of that is, in what ways do you think we can start to deconstruct that stigma? That's a big question, so take your time.
Yes. First of all, I believe the stigma does exist, especially when I was growing up in the communities that I grew up in. Emotions were not to be discussed on the male side more so than on the woman's side. And I think what should happen or could happen is that we reprogram our understanding of things. So that's one of the biggest things I think that will help. And it's other things, again, because we only going to scratch the surface on this particular topic, in my opinion, because it goes so much deeper than just us talking for 30 minutes or so on the air. So yes, I do believe that it's definitely a stigma that still exists today in a lot of communities. I can't speak for every community,
Right.
so I'm just generalizing. I know in my community growing up, showing emotions was not a proper format to exist as a male growing up in my community.
And my question for that is, why do you think that is? Why do you think that, and it can be societal or within the community itself, but why do you think that there has been such a strong, I guess you would call it a hold, like a hold on the fact that it's unacceptable for men and boys too, because it starts at a young age, to showcase their emotions?
I think I can.
In your opinion.
Right, exactly. This is my opinion, people. And again, I don't know all the answers, as I always state. I'm a student of life myself, so I continue to try to grow and learn. In my opinion, I believe it was taught to us, because when you're growing up, if a male decided to show any type of emotions, it was considered or looked upon as being weak or less than. So then I think a lot of times we just kept them inside of us without knowing how to constructively express ourselves. So then in turn, as you grow older, you have a lot of things inside of you perhaps that you never really got to discuss with your parents, your friends, your neighbors, or whoever, because especially in my community growing up, it was considered weak, a sign of weakness if you cried, if you showed emotions beyond. I mean, you could be happy, but you couldn't show tears of happiness, if that makes sense. Right? If you couldn't cry, you shouldn't have any type of crying. But what I realized as I grew older, crying is a great tool to help relieve a lot of unnecessary things within inside you. That's what I learned. So did I answer that? I mean, because it goes so much deep. I mean, because I can remember when my uncles and people that I grew up under said men should never express their emotions. But then you want them to function in a relationship with a woman, and really without giving them the proper tools, in my opinion. So then when a woman tries to talk to you, I know in my particular situation, I can't speak for everybody, it was taught, don't tell them what's going on in your mind, because they might use that against you. Now, I know that's some sick way of thinking now that I'm older. However, when I was younger, I bought into a lot of the things that were taught to me or expressed, or what I saw to be normality, and I practiced those same norms. Because the last time I really cried, I want to say, is in 1991 when my grandfather died. You never even got to meet him. Really cried, right? I have shared tears of happiness or emotions, but really cried. Like when some of my friends passed away, I didn't get to really mourn their death, and because things that I was taught that we shouldn't act that way, because it would looked upon you as being less than or weaker in some communities and among your peers at the time. So I hope I answered that. Did that give you a clear understanding? Because you grew up in a different age bracket than me. I mean, society-wise. So.
Well, I'm also a female too, so it's a little bit different, I think, than I think that there's more leniency for emotions to be displayed when you are a female than there is for a male. So I guess my question, and I don't really know if you can even answer it, to be honest, because it's simply it's clear that it's been a generational type of thing where it's frowned upon for the emotional part to be showcased for men. But my question really is, like, where do you think that started from, and has it been around for forever, really? And I don't know if you can answer that.
Right. I don't know where it actually started from. I can only share with you from where it began with me, and I think it might have been with my older brother, because we didn't have a male in the household. I mean, a grown-up male in the household, because my brother was a child himself, and so forth and so on. So I believe it started there, and then when I started getting out into the community around where I lived at, I believe I just witnessed people, we was taught men shouldn't cry. Men shouldn't express their emotions. And then if you keep hearing that over and over and over, it somewhat becomes your reality or facts in certain situations. So I think it became my personal fact growing up, because if you cry, like you got into a fist fight or altercation with somebody and then you cry, it was really, you was looked upon as being less than in some capacity and whatnot. And then you would get teased from your other peers or other people. And then some households, the men would come out and say, you shouldn't, cry, because every household wasn't a broken household, but a lot of them were.
Yeah.
So a lot of that was just kept to themselves, because they didn't really have me in particular, like role models of such to say, hey, it's okay to express yourself. Because most of the role models I grew up under was don't show no sign of weakness, period. And that will be considered a sign of weakness at that time.
At that time.
Yes.
Hi,
and
guys.
right now, some people might think of it now as a sign of weakness.
Welcome to Chet Chats. If you're just tuning in, today's topic is men and emotions. If you guys have thoughts, opinions, comments on anything, as always, please feel free to go ahead and leave them, and I will do my best to catch them and answer them / read what it is that you guys have to say.
Right.
So I want to say, because, you mentioned the generational difference between the two of us, but to be honest, and even though my generation as a whole, again, blanket statements for things, but I do believe that we are more open and receptive to receiving information, and that pertains to feelings as well, too. However, I do still know that, as you say, things are ingrained from a very long time, and the more that it's repeated, the more that our consciousness pick that up and believe that to be true, whether or not it's factual or opinionated.
Right.
So for me, it's just like, in this generation, it's, yes, I, on a personal level, believe that everyone has emotions, everyone has mental health. The way to better your mental health is to express your emotions. And that sometimes does look like crying, or it does look like just verbally saying it. And so I know a lot of my male friends who are around my age, like who are in their 20s, they still do have a hard time when you ask them, how's it going? It's just, I'm hanging. And that's it. That's all. Because to go deeper is to dig up more stuff that you're told to suppress.
Exactly. And I was taught to suppress it in whatever manner at that time. So, because when somebody asks how you feeling, oftentimes in general, we just give a broad answer. We really, because that old saying is, I got more problems than them. And then some people are like, I don't want to hear you. It's not so much a problem, but an issue or situation. So then that helps perpetrate, again, of being closed-minded and not opening up to really say, hey, this is how I'm feeling, because other people have their own life going on as well. And everybody understanding is not the same.
Correct.
So I just think it's a disservice, excuse me for stuttering through that, because my mind was thinking of thoughts, that I just know I try not to do that with my son. However, I missed a large portion of his life. So a lot of the emotional connections he got really didn't come from me. They didn't. I have to be honest with that. So hopefully he can continue to navigate and learn that it's okay to express himself in a manner so he can feel free and in a safe zone to do it. But oftentimes most males aren't in a safe zone to do it, unfortunately, So like it goes way even deeper than emotion, because then it goes back to other stigmas that's been perpetrated over and over the centuries upon us as people. So I think it's a lot deeper, and I'm glad you brought up the subject matter, because hopefully it will help people understand, especially the men that are listening to the podcast, or the women that can then share with their male friends or mate, that it's okay to express yourself, especially if they feel in a safe environment. Because oftentimes, even when women express themselves with each other, it then goes down the street. Like your information leaves these parties that's involved, and so people get leery of that in expressing themselves. Because I told you, I didn't want the whole Instagram world to know about it, and when I told you in privacy,
right,
in a sense. So that happens sometimes with people. So I think that keeps people from expressing how they truly are feeling at that moment as well.
I think that if anything, this past year with COVID and being in the pandemic and having shutdowns and whatnot, that has taught us that there is a lot of unlearning to relearning that we can do as not just individuals, but on a totality type of level. And I feel as though this topic is one of those things that we as a whole should start unlearning to relearn to then pass down to the future generations to better it. There's this documentary on Amazon, I don't remember what it's called, but it talks about masculinity and how it starts actually when children are about 3 or 4 years old. So it starts way beyond the age that most people think it starts, because at that age, children are so malleable and their brains are still forming that the more you feed them, the more that they retain, and then it continues to project for years afterwards. And I bring that up to say that if you're 3 and you're in preschool and you fall and you're told not to cry, then you internalize that and it continues for the rest of your life. And then that projects into something else.
Okay. I can see that. Because I honestly was taught boys don't cry.
Yeah.
And I don't believe my mother told me that at all, because she was so busy, trying to make sure we ate that evening, that I didn't get that from her. I know I didn't. But.
I'm just going to read this comment really quickly.
From Frank?
So,
hey, Frank.
The comment reads, when we were told that men don't cry as little boys, they were only trying to protect us from the future. They didn't want us to cry about every little thing, as if we had no control of our emotions. That as a foundation could cause problems as you navigate through life.
I agree with that.
I think that, but specifically note for that, I just know that being from Baltimore and being in the city of Baltimore, there are different, there's different standards and a different reality than if you were in LA. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So I think that, and this is where in my mind it gets very confusing, because it's like, yes, you should have emotions, but then at the same time, the environment in which you're in sometimes does not allow for you to have those emotions. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, in my previous occupation, that was one of those where emotional people as it relates, because I think we all operate on some type of emotion no matter what we're doing, unless you're an actual psychopath people. But what I learned is trying to navigate the best emotional EQ, as they call it, in a situation, because no matter how you might try to size it up, you're operating off of some type of emotion. Again, unless you're a psychopath. They say they had no emotions from the studies that's been brought out. But everybody always try to say, stop acting emotional. You're acting emotional. Now, whether it's a quote unquote rational emotion, that is up to the people of receiving this information. But we're always operating out of some type of emotion, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. We are. I mean, people might not want to really realize that, because I always say the cliche, stop acting emotional. But you're acting, emotions just run through us, innately run through us at any given time. But you try to have the quote unquote most rational emotion to answer a situation if possible. But oftentimes that doesn't happen, because again, it goes back to we're not being taught how to navigate through our emotions when they are happening, because we are taught men shouldn't have. I was taught anyway growing up. I can't speak for every male in the world, but I was taught men shouldn't have emotion, especially express them outside openly in public to other people around. So, yeah.
So I don't know if you can really answer this, but this raises a question for me: is how do we then better the generations to come, specifically boys who will grow up to be men? How do we better their understanding that it is okay to show emotions while they are still existing with the older society who has deemed that showcasing emotion is unacceptable?
That's a hard question. I think I'm going to have to get back to y'all. Please, people, feel free to comment on that question, because right now to answer that in a couple more minutes, I don't think I could do that, Shy.
Because it's an integration, and it's like you could compare those with anything. It's like we see that happening a lot with what your older generations call the freedoms and the liberties that your younger generations are taking on, right? I'll give you just an example. Like female rights with abortion rights. That's just as an example, the way that we're fighting for them. But then older generations are like, well, no, especially if you're on the religious side, that's absolutely not right? So my question really is, and this is for anyone, because I don't know if I even have the answer, but how do we integrate different generational thoughts, beliefs, and then sometimes generational curses, and how do we mesh them together so that we're not always going to be on the same page, but at least we have an understanding and a mutual respect for one another.
That's a very interesting.
I'll leave y'all with that
right?
question.
Listen, you see people. I see the hit of this show. I'm just a co-host. Because her thoughts are beyond. I'm very proud of you for bringing these type of subject matters to light so we can have better positive dialogue. I think we need to have more dialogue. I think we really need to get to the truth of matters, in my opinion, right? Okay. Hopefully I'm surfacely answering this to a degree, and I'm not, going to answer it fully because it's a work in progress.
Okay.
I just believe that we need to start truly having open dialogue. Right? Whether you agree or disagree, you have a right to your opinions, and then also you have a right to have facts.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. But so often happens when a person don't agree with one another. This is how a lot of conversations get shut down, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. When a person don't agree with one another on a subject matter, and sometimes people internalize it and say they don't like me anymore.
Yes.
So then all conversations stop on that particular subject matter. Where no, I just don't agree with you on that particular subject matter or subject matters. Mm-hmm. So, but it doesn't mean I don't like you.
Right.
So then people, in my opinion, I notice get embodied in their any emotions mm-hmm. of projecting to protect instead of then projecting to listen and learn.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that's what I think happens a lot of times, why we don't have serious dialogue with things that I believe that can be changed. And I won't use the word fixed, but I will say improved on. Mm. So the next generation can then improve on the next generation. Because people, we really only here for a moment of life. The world been going around, they say, for over 1 billion years.
Yes.
If I'm lucky, I have a few more of them. I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But we can always impact each other in a more enlightful way if we do start changing our mindset on issues. Personally, mm-hmm. I believe that can happen. And I believe when we do that and stop people thinking they're above each other in some capacity or not, that we can start getting a better outlook. Because really, most people want the same things as, house, car, fruitful employment, mm-hmm. and to be able to have their loved ones and take care of them in some capacity and whatnot. I believe that. I mean, for the most part.
Right.
Then you just have some people on another plateau that
to each his own.
Right, to each his own. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for bailing me out on that one. Because that was, whew.
Yeah, well, on that note, there are some comments about like communication being key and open conversation and dialogue and all those types of things, which, yes, I agree with. And I think that you touched on this point, and we say this a lot in Chet Chats, but your opinion and your thoughts are no more valid than the next person's. And I think that we, as a human being, as a species, have this issue where what I say, Dad, is so much more important than what you have to say. And I think that listen, I don't believe that actually, but I think that
I'm just messing with.
I think that as people, like, it's a subconscious thing where it's like, because if you're in a conversation, a lot of times I'm talking to you, but now you're just thinking about what it is you're about to say back to me, and you're not even really hearing what it is I have to say. You're just ready to go ahead and share what your thoughts are already.
Exactly. I always share that on the post.
Yes.
You remember I said, stop listening to defend and start listening to understand. And people really do sit back and wait to defend. They're hearing you. They're not really listening because there's two different, in my opinion, there's two different things.
Yes.
Hearing and listening. Very few people listen to other people. They hear them because they already have what they have inside of them that they want to project out on you. Mm-hmm. Instead of them really understanding where that other person's or people are coming from. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you on that.
We just got to do better as human beings, in my opinion.
Don't give up on the shy.
I'm not, but we can just do. We're one of the most intellectual species, and we are animals, so we're one of the most intellectual animals who, for whatever reason, have the power of the world, and yet we continuously are disappointing at a lot of times. But on a more optimistic beat, if there is this comment to answer, to go back to my question about how do we bridge the gap between the generations, specifically on the topic we're discussing, men and emotions. And the comment reads, in short, show them both sides of emotions by allowing them to see you cry and not cry depending on the situation, and teach them the importance of living in your truth. Then the second one we have, this goes back to open dialogue.
I'm sorry
The
if
open,
my eyes can't see.
the open dialogue that you two give is all positive. Y'all start the conversation. You two, oh, I think this is just a comment for us actually. You two are helping people see different perspectives without judgment. So therefore, y'all are helping others open their minds and take a step to listen before reacting. Love y'all topics. Never stop opening. Thank you so much for
I
that.
appreciate
comment.
that.
We do.
Thank you.
We truly do strive here on Chet Chats to. These conversations that Dad and I have started way before we started filming them. These are daily things. I have lots of questions all the time.
All the time, people.
So,
but with the show is that she waits till that morning because she don't want me to have any intel
correct.
on what we're going to talk about until literally she types it in and we go live on the show.
We like authenticity.
Right.
Around
So
here.
this is not pre-scripted. We don't do that. Not that we mind that if it will help better people in the future.
Sure.
However, right now she likes this format because it keeps me on off balance, I think. Or
It's on your toes. You
Right.
have to. It's your initial reaction and response
right.
to things
Instead of
versus
just
having time
studying.
for preparation.
Right.
correct.
Preparation. Okay. That's why you do it.
That's you gotta know.
See. Thank y'all, people.
Um.
Any other question? Or because this is a topic, Shy, honestly, you pick great topics.
Thank you.
And I hope the people that are tuning in will understand the importance of your topics, because I think it will help people have open conversations about it, whether they're at their job, because a lot of people are still working from home.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they call people, even if they share or don't share this podcast, that person now has potentially a different thought or thoughts that they can then share with someone else. And that's where, going back to your initial question, I don't know which one, but that way, then it can start trickling down, because it's a trickle down effect. And the masses are normally down where masses can be reached and whatnot. So I appreciate you for helping with the Chet Chats podcast and so forth, because it really, in my personal opinion, does help. So
I feel like you just wrapped up our show.
No.
That was such a good note.
Oh,
so.
no, we got a few minutes. I mean, you know how I go. Once it's in my mind, I got to keep going forward, or I won't remember as I get older.
But as always, guys, like this, every conversation we have on Chet Chats is a conversation that continues once we do go off the air and whatnot. And the goal, one of the goals of Chet Chats, because there are many, but a major goal is to start the dialogue that you guys have continuously mentioned, is to start the dialogue. And if we start it here, then you can carry it into your homes, carry it into your place of employment, wherever, so that way you are starting to open up people's minds so that they're expressing and experiencing different thoughts that they may not have thought of on their own. So just because we do go off the air, because we can't stay here forever, even though this guy probably would talk to you forever if he could and never sleep. But that was no shade. That was just a little bit of shade.
That looked
Just
like a little shade
just
there.
slightly.
Just slightly. This is what you gave me to this. Okay.
But no, with that being said, though, just because we are not live anymore does not mean that the conversation stops. We are a little bit delayed in getting back to some of the comments once they're posted afterwards, but we do our best to get back and respond as in a timely fashion and as best as we can as well. But no, I don't know, I feel like this is a topic that is so much bigger than the
Absolutely. It's
time
definitely
frame we
bigger than the
have.
30 minutes time frame that we have on air. And please, people, continue to share, continue to ask us questions or have topics of subject matter, because we're in a position of trying to better not only ourselves, but better others as we move forward in this world called life. So again, I always say in the beginning or sometime during the show, I do not have all the answers. I'm not going to always get it correct all the time. That's why they call accidents or missteps. So bear with me if I'm wrong at times. However, I'm open-minded enough to listen and learn and not just wait to respond to a person. So that's for me. So if I misspoke, please feel free to DM me, tell me about it, so that way I can get a better response next time when we come on the air and so forth, as far as I'm concerned. I just believe that it's necessary that because we often always, every time you turn on a podcast or the news station, it's always negativity. And I think that somewhat then get ingrained in a person's mind that negativity is cool because it's going to get you 15 minutes of fame in some capacity. However, I think when you know better, you should do better. And as I continue to evolve, I'm starting to get better. But that doesn't mean I'm flawless, people. So bear with me as I continue to grow in my greatness.
Really quickly before, because we do have just a couple more seconds, I really love this comment that she has an 11-year-old son and he questions her all the time and she prefers that he does to keep the conversation going and open. Don't shut children down. Children are the most amazing creatures in the entire world because their brains are still so open and their creativity and their imagination is not stunted yet by society's views and by things that the negativity that is instilled and perpetrated onto them. So let them ask questions, answer their questions, let them explore and figure things out. They are truly the future of our world and they deserve everything. That's how I feel about it. So answer their questions and do better for them so that they can do better for the next generations after them. Is there anything else you have to say?
That's great.
Awesome, guys. Thank you again, as always, for tuning into another episode of Chet Chats. From this point moving forward, we will be on the Chet Chats page on Facebook. We should also be going live on Instagram Live for those of y'all who are there. So I hope you guys have an amazing day. Thank you, as always, for tuning in, and we will catch y'all next week.
Peace.